acclaimed and guest musician Almitri Tzigane. Welcome, everyone, to the Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende. Bienvenidos todos al servicio dominical de los unitarios universalistas de San Miguel de Allende. Estamos contentos de estar juntos. We are glad to be together. This is a place where we can bring our whole selves and be accepted as we are with friendship and love. Este es un lugar donde podemos traer todo nuestro ser y ser aceptados tal como somos con amor y amistad. My name is Cathy Cánepa, and Carla Espinosa and I, members of the Sunday Service Committee, will be our service leaders today. And we're delighted to welcome back to the fellowship Reverend Louise Green today, a favorite guest minister of ours who will be leading us for 4 weeks in July. And if you don't already know her, please read her bio in your order of service. So before we move into worship time, we'd like to share a few announcements. 15 minutes following the service today, we will have a 1-hour, very pleasant brainstorming session on leadership. It will be live at the Aldea and on Zoom at the link being posted in the chat box right now. So after the service, those of you on Zoom, you need to sign off, grab a snack, and then sign back on at the link that's in the chat box. That's to join the meeting afterwards. And if you're visiting, please know that normally we have a Zoom coffee hour and discussion after service, so please come back again. And those of us who are here at the Aldea, grab some coffee and cookies, check out the welcome table, lots of information and opportunities. And also, if you are here in San Miguel, please come and bring friends to our Thursday lunch and games event. And everyone can come to Tom's Zoom coffee hour on Tuesdays. So check your OOS and visit our website, UUFSMA.org. And you can see videos of previous services, learn about events, and information on how to become a member. Now, do we have any visitors here today? And if we do, and you're willing, would you stand so that we can see who you are and personally greet you? We're really friendly. No. Our minister. Oh. And another. How lovely. This was Joan from Chicago, a snowbird back here for the summer. And now we have a brief announcement via Zoom. Diego is going to help us get to Kate Greenaway on Zoom. Kate is the chair for the Committee on Ministry with an update on our success with the Chalice Lighter Fund for the Minister in Residence, MIR project.
Hi, everybody, and greetings from British Columbia. I just have a quick fun announcement. The Chalice Lighter program has been going for almost 2 months. It's where UUA designates a really needy project, a really fun project, where all the congregations in the Southern District come together to support something new, a new way to reach out. So because we were awarded this year, a lot of fellowships have been gathering funds on our behalf. It's so cool that so many of our sister organizations have decided to throw in with us, that they believe in us and that they share our sense of how important this is. The target was $7,500, and so far we've raised $6,063. So we think that's amazing, and we know that there are some congregations doing passing the plate this weekend to throw in now to give us, perhaps we'll even reach our target. The Chalice Lighter Challenge closes on Wednesday. So I just wanted everybody to know that it's still there, and if you want to contribute, you can. It's easy online. You just have to designate that it's for the MIR project, or give money to, there's people in the congregation, and I won't bore you with that. Even if you ask Cathy who to give your money to, she will figure it out. But it's a wonderful work in progress, and we're actually really moving forward. So just wanted to update you. Have a good service.
Thank you. Well, we join together as one congregation. We gather together. We arrive as individuals, as couples, as families, as neighbors, as friends. Nos unimos como una sola congregación, nos reunimos, llegamos, como individuos, como parejas, como familias, como vecinos, como amigos. We got here by walking, biking, by riding, by driving, by connecting. Llegamos aquí caminando, en bicicleta, montando, conduciendo o conectando. We bring with us our joys and our sorrows, our laughter and our tears, our worries and our fears, our questions and our beliefs, our ethics and our values. Traemos con nosotros nuestras alegrías y nuestras tristezas, nuestras risas y nuestras lágrimas, nuestras preocupaciones y nuestros miedos, nuestras preguntas y nuestras creencias, nuestra ética y nuestros valores. Some of us arrived early this morning or joined 10 minutes ago. We encounter obstacles on their way, or will arrive just in time for the sermon, or will sign online later this week, or even next month. Algunos de nosotros llegamos temprano esta mañana, o nos unimos hace 10 minutos, o nos encontramos obstáculos en el camino, o llegaremos justo a tiempo para el sermón, o nos unimos en línea durante la semana, o inclusive el próximo mes. We are sitting in pews, leaning on walkers or canes, stretching in the aisles, settling in wheelchairs and relaxing in our recliners. Nosotros estamos sentados en bancos, apoyándonos en andaderos, bastones, estirándonos en pasillos, sentados en silla de ruedas y relajándonos en sillones reclinables. We, members, friends, and visitors alike, come from many paths and join together as a one congregation to lift up to our highest ideals. We have gathered. Now let us worship. Nosotros, miembros, amigos y visitantes por igual, venimos de muchos caminos y nos reunimos juntos como una sola congregación para elevar nuestros más altos ideales. Nos hemos reunido, ahora honremos.
May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom. Let's join our voices together now in song, hymn number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In, Ven, ven, alégrate hoy. We will sing 3 verses in English and 2 in Spanish. So I invite you to rise in body or spirit and remain so for the covenant. Okay? Words will appear on the screen. standing, and I invite you all to join together in reciting this fellowship's unique covenant. This is our promise. It's the goal that we aspire to of how to be in relation to each other and the larger world. I will lead us in English, and then Carla will lead us in Spanish. The words will appear on the screen. We are attempting to slow down. We respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassion in our relationships, and seek values that will benefit our lives and the lives of others. This is our covenant.
Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la comprensión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Este es nuestro convenio.
Please be seated. We now enter into an important time in our service when, as a community, we can share each other's burdens and joys. I invite everyone who came here, electronically or in person, to take a breath, settle, and try to feel each other's presence. Our opening words were of gathering together as one congregation. Now, each week together, we light candles for what is in our hearts. Each candle we light means that thought, that person is held by all of us. This is part of weaving one congregation, one community over time. To share a joy or concern, you may email our minister, Tom Rosiello, or write something on a card right before service, or type it in the Zoom chat. And I see I need to remind people that this is for personal joys and concerns, not announcements or news items. You can talk to me afterwards about what to do with those. So our first candle is one of caring for Mark Johannigsmeyer, who has at least another 6 weeks of recovery at home after his fall and infection. But the good news is he does not need surgery and his condition is really treatable. But please send him get well wishes, notes, or calls of support, which he would really appreciate. Our next candle is one of support for all those who are dealing with a difficult illness, acute or chronic, or challenges of aging. And let me check the chat to see if we have any there. No. I hope that the lack of more joys or concerns means that we're generally okay and getting the support we need as individuals. Now, our caring extends from this community to the world. We light our blue and yellow candle for all the civilians and soldiers on all sides suffering from the war in Ukraine. We light our red candle as we hold in our hearts those living through the ongoing horror and suffering in the Middle East, both the Israeli civilians killed and kidnapped on October 7th, and all of the Palestinian civilians, especially the children, struggling and many starving, struggling to survive the humanitarian crisis. May we draw strength from this, our community, to have the strength to tolerate the pain that comes from our compassion for the suffering human family we have in the Middle East, in the Ukraine, and in so many parts of the world. And to have the strength not to become paralyzed by cynicism, numbing, or hopelessness, but be able to look for anywhere we have the power to make a change in the direction of love and justice. And now, a candle and a moment of silence for all those joys, sorrows, and concerns that have not been shared, but are held unspoken in our hearts. As Almitri plays our musical meditation, you may come forward silently to light a candle of joy or concern.
Wow, that was beautiful. I'm sorry I have to speak right after that. Hang on, I'm going to fix the mic in a second. Oh, yeah, yeah. How's that? AV people, is it good? No? Here's the improvisational aspect of my morning is that my talk won't print. And I have tried it like 3 different ways, and then I succeeded. Then I sent it to Cathy, and it's sent in my box, but not in her computer. So it is in cyberspace, and I use my computer, and it's a good thing because I'm speaking about improvisation in challenging times. And I'm so glad to be here. It's great to be back in San Miguel, my other home. I really appreciate it. And I'm doing a series on a book called Seeds of a New Way. It'll be here if you want to look at it. It's Nurturing Authentic and Diverse Religious Leadership. I chose it in April because I preached 2 sermons at All Souls D.C. on leadership. So it is a synchronicity or coincidence that leadership development might be a apropos topic at the fellowship. So this is excerpted from this, and it's from the essay called Collaborative Leadership for Collective Liberation. When things are not collaborative, in time, the reasons why something began get lost, and things get reduced to hard and fast rules. The nuance is lost. Collaboration expands the memory of an institution because its stories and methods and mission are being held by more than one person and one group. And in turn, this helps expand the collective imagination. If we embrace a wider set of perspectives that reflect who we are as Unitarian, Universalists, or human beings on planet Earth, we will discover more dynamic and creative solutions. Thank you, Aisha Hauser. So it's great to be back here. Thank you. And this book I chose for the series is primarily about the future of a faith movement, Unitarian Universalism, which you may or may not adopt as your own. Like most spiritual and ethical denominations today, however, the UUA is in growing pains and opportunities for transformation, and I think the inquiry could apply across a range of settings. I've been perusing the book because it has much wisdom about how we go forward as humans at this time. And in a broader sense, it speaks to any kind of community we might want to create in schools, workplaces, families, and neighborhoods. Now, since the 1980s, thus dating myself, I have always, as an adult, been drawn to creative collaboration, probably more so than solo, heroic, and stressed out hierarchical leadership. Call me crazy. The quality of my life has mattered, and when I veered too far off that path, it cost me. So it wasn't like I just aced it. I got in trouble over and over. I had to unlearn my conditioning from my very high-achieving at all times family and my church of origin, the Presbyterians, who like everything in good order all the time. I actually do love the impact and joy of collective change and the way that teams grow together over time. And when I went to divinity school in 1988, it was to further my learning and my passion for social justice ministries. I was an engaged lay leader in the immigration solidarity movement in Chicago. And I had been in a UCC church that inconveniently interrupted my planned life as a professional dancer. So when I went, there were two things I knew for sure: that I would never be ordained, and I would certainly never, ever, ever serve a church. We see how that went. Now, this is how life is it not? Over decades, my experience as a community organizer in broad-based, multi-issue, interfaith organizations, and as a minister in both UCC and UUA congregations, led me to conclude this. The emotional, the ethical qualities of being in any leadership design are most important. The way of being matters more than staff titles, people structures, tracking documents, team training, or any particular form of organizational life. My spreadsheet people, we need you. And yet, it is the architecture of things. It is not the heart. They're all needed, but they have to serve as a means to an end. It's how you make people feel, as Maya Angelou so wisely says in a well-known saying from her. People will forget what you do. They will forget what you say. They will remember how you made them feel. In UU congregations in particular, the end needs to bear some relationship to the highest values of our institutions. And so, who do we want to be? We are peoples who deeply care about making good change in the world. We want to be connected fully in a caring community. And the leadership culture, I'm going to come back to that word, culture, that we develop needs to reflect the vision, or it soon gets stuck. This is an organizational universal. And the most common issue by far in the más o menos 100 institutions where I have served as either the organizer or the minister or the board member, the common issue I see is this. So often, the same people do the same things over and over and just get too tired. This is natural entropy. This is not some kind of pox on any house. This is the way it goes. And it will lead to devolving. Many of you might be familiar with what I have heard as the central question of strategic planning from Peter Drucker. He said, what if we were not always doing what we are always doing? What if we were not? What might we imagine we could be and we could do? This is the primary role of organizers and leaders, to ask these questions repeatedly and to listen broadly for the answers. Not to proclaim the solution, but to listen for the answers. And everyone is potentially a leader in my book. I am not just talking about elected persons or people that have titles or roles. Some of the most important leaders, as you know well, have informal authority. They're connectors. They're people who care and connect. So this lead from any chair philosophy is not my phrase, but it's beautifully articulated in a curriculum, a book, and a TED Talk that's called The Art of Possibility. Has anybody seen that before? No? Okay. Benjamin Zander is a well-known Boston conductor who's an organizational consultant for years. And he and his wife, Rosamund Stone Zander, have worked for years on leadership development. This is why I like them. They have a sense of humor, they use play, they use joy, all while using the metaphor of an orchestra. And the idea is simple. Every single chair matters, and every person must be engaged or the music doesn't flow well. Here's an example from one of the chapters in the book, Art of Possibility, where it talks about the interesting magical power of rule number 6. Rule number 6 was a little sign on a desk in a manager's office, and it just said, remember rule number 6. And there was a man who was there having a meeting, and he saw a string of people just bursting in the door all the time, upset, agitated. Everybody's, whoa, what is happening? It's chaos. And each time the manager would point to the sign and go, remember rule number 6. And the visitor said, oh my gosh, like what is that rule? I need to know it. I need to apply it in every aspect of my life. And I paraphrase a bit here. The manager answered and said, stop taking yourself so damn seriously. Because when we do, we lose perspective. It doesn't mean that things aren't serious. It doesn't mean that we can't speak to our highest values, but it can freeze things in a dynamic that is painful. So recall that there is a spiritual or an ethical center of leadership that is particular to congregations. We are not organizing trash pickup delivery, although doing that with kindness could be good. I would name this center as embodied caring, loving accompaniment, and clear presence in multiple ways over time, where every area and every person matters. When you experience it, you know it, and it will change the path forward. Aisha Hauser's article contains a great list that she and Deanna Vandiver created. It's called Points to Consider in Enacting Collaboration. First, she names all the doing. It's important. Consent, centering mission, covenant of right behavior and relationship, power analysis, embodied accountability, plans for conflict engagement, when, not if it comes, she says, when, not if it comes, clarity of roles, and that's all very key. Then she names qualities of being that are also needed to succeed in collaborative efforts, and they may not immediately come to mind. Compassion for yourself and for each other. Holy, humble curiosity. Embedded in the culture, she means spiritual and somatic body experiences repeat often, she says, repeat often. Gentle patience. Patience. So, for many of us, myself included, cultivating any of these qualities has arisen through some creative tension and some suffering. It is something we learn in the unexpected school of hard knocks. Perhaps it's in the confusion and the chaos of disruptive events, or maybe painful breakdowns and conflicts, times of intense transition, rapid change, health challenges, divorces, difficult deaths, leaving home, facing the unknown. In all these very inconvenient ways, we are challenged to grow, ready or not. And when things fall apart, whether it's in small or medium or very large ways, we have an opportunity to cultivate compassion for ourselves first and others. To engage in humble curiosity, we're going to need steady practices that can take us out of our fervent planning heads and our very anxious hearts, and instead shift focus to growing, careful, and gentle patience. I hate it when this happens. It just kind of drives me nuts, and I have to keep working on it. As one of my teachers used to say, this is not a one-walk dog. Only practice will shift what is possible in every way we could imagine. And as the Zanders remind us, this is an art. It is not a rigid outline. It is not a 10-point plan, although they help. It requires improvisation. When your document cannot land in the place with a printer, you have to improvise. Hauser writes that in collaborative life, we remember why something began in this shared history that comes from multiple perspectives. And to quote our reading, again, collaboration expands the memory of an institution because its stories, its methods, its mission are being held by more than one person or one group of insiders. And in turn, she said, this helps expand collective imagination. Oh, wow, how congregations and organizations of humans love to hold on to one way of seeing shared history. Am I the only person who's seen that? Okay, I guess it's where I've been. We often have these very trying love-headache relationships with the places that we want to succeed, and so often the cost of breakdown is high. And no one comes to a voluntary organization consciously desiring ongoing drama, upset, and tension. We come for connection and joy. We come to make a difference in the world, to not feel alone while we are up against the challenging realities of our times. And it's so very disappointing when things go awry and people get understandably tense and they behave in less than optimal ways. When an aligned vision is complicated to craft, then human beings lose their patience and they get entrenched in their own view of reality. And I've been there too, as an observer who's just ready to throw up my hands, or as an overly exasperated and self-righteous participant. There is another way. And it begins with deciding to lay down weaponized speech and to lay down this arduous solo heroism that is so often taught as success. I think in this challenging world of post-pandemic rigor and devolving systems, people are tired. They're anxious. We don't have a lot of bandwidth for murky and vexing situations. So we must do better. And I'm not saying that to the UU Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende. I'm saying that to any organization that I'm part of anywhere at this moment. In order to have people stay and thrive in our communities, we have to center some kind of values. And here, you might center UU values that sustain and inspire you. It doesn't matter to me if you take it from the new Article 2 or the 8 Principles or the North Star of Sirius. It doesn't matter. Whatever is pulling you forward, maybe something like inherent worth and dignity of all beings, interdependence, love at the center, to name a few. And I think there can still be abundant life in collectives as we build these caring cultures. There are going to be breakdowns, emergencies, conflicts, repair. On planet Earth in 2024, any group of people that is ready to collaborate must be flexible and nimble, because the pandemic years and the global turmoil have resulted in some ongoing tough circumstances. We are all living it. And unfortunately, many congregations are responding in a way that is understandable yet futile. They are trying to replicate previous years from the before times. And yet, this is an era of inconvenient growth. Trying to stay exactly the same is not going to go well. So the world has shifted dramatically I think it's going to keep impacting participants, staffing, leadership, the money to keep communities going. And the UU Fellowship in San Miguel de Allende is not exceptional in this way. And in fact, for real, it is much better off than a lot of places that I'm seeing. All organizing is reorganizing, as the saying goes. And we could truly design collaborative leadership for collective liberation, as Aisha Hauser says, in ways that are clear, that are creative. We might think outside the box because that's the way it needs to be these days. This would allow different ways of doing congregation while being in mutual care in more egalitarian models and structures. I think of this as a service, education, and improv experience where we are all learners. And the forms for organizing are fairly simple. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. This is why I learned organizing right after I got out of divinity school, because I was in congregations and I thought, we need another toolbox. A group of motivated people shapes and inhabits any roles that are needed. You create teams, you do events, you do campaigns and projects, and you always evaluate, adapt, change, repeat, repeat, repeat. And so I think the leadership culture questions are the most urgent now within the particular opportunities for growth. We can offer and experience care across our community of communities. I'll be speaking more about that in the coming weeks. But we can be in dispersed and lightly organized systems. Again, you know it when you see it and feel it. We intuitively understand how to do organized things well with some ease, humor, maybe even a little creative verve, and might I say, fun. If we just lighten up, take ourselves a little less seriously, we need more fun. So doing is part of who this fellowship is, will always be, but the questions of being will always be key. So I end, at last, with some curious questions. How could forms of ethical, spiritual leadership be cultivated regularly among lay people and staff in all parts of the current systems? Again, I preach this for All Souls D.C. This is not about the UU Fellowship of San Miguel. How do those who offer leadership also receive care, lay leaders and staff, in order to build their own capacity, their own resilience over time? Everybody gets tired. How could leadership culture open more access to those that are not yet in many relationships and from areas that are not well connected? This is the big issue in congregations. The same systems replicate, and it's not easy to get in. How could leadership culture more fully reflect a core commitment to cultivate diverse experience, belief, and kinds of people? If we aren't doing that, then the 21st century, we're on the wrong train. And how could leadership from any chair actually embody core values with love at the center? Being on the threshold brings great new opportunities, and as Aisha Hauser reminds us, when you expand perspectives, you expand collective imagination. The challenge that comes from messy, interesting, uncomfortable, and inconvenient growth is a chance. It's a chance for recalculating, reorganizing, and renewing transformation. Nothing less. And so may it be so for each of us, because these times need us to be our best as individuals and as collectives. I thank you for your listening.
We give. We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with the faith that together we had enough. Now, the offering will be gratefully received.
De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy, así compartimos y vivimos hoy. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy, así compartimos y vivimos hoy. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
After these 2 minutes, we have time to settle the sermon, what was beautiful. And let's join our voices together in the song hymn number 6. Just as long as I have breath. I invite you to rise in body or spirit if you're able.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask why I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask why I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
So as we say yes to love, may we remember the many privileges that we have. To be in this room, to be online, with technology, it's so many places connecting us. To be in a community that cares, to know others who are wanting to do good in the world. Let us not take that for granted, but say yes to life. Amen.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth. With warmth of community or the fire of commitment. This we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Extinguimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de la comunidad o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón hasta que estemos juntos otra vez. Please remain seated to enjoy Almitri for one time more.